So we're here today, Mayor Stewart, and February is Black History Month, and you have just completed your first 100 days as Irondale's first African American mayor. So tell us a little bit about what it means to you to hold that distinction.
Well, it's been exhilarating to be able to do some great things for such a fantastic city in such a short time. I'm honored to have this opportunity to serve as the City of Irondale's first African American mayor. The city was incorporated in 1887, so it's been a very long time before the city has had an African American mayor. But I feel that it's an honor to be able to serve in this position, that people thought enough of me to go to the polls and actually to vote based on the ability and the experience and the education and not on the color of my skin. We're still in 2021, we still have a long way to go, but I would say that this is a great start in being able to show people that there are places where color is not the main focal point, but people really do look at who's the best candidate to be able to serve their city.
Absolutely. So you have done a wonderful job of keeping the citizens of Irondale informed about what's going on in the city. You put out newsletters, you do town hall meetings, both in person and virtual, and you've done other methods of communication with the robocalls, the text messages. Everybody knows about the 5E plan. So I wanted to kind of use this opportunity to talk more about you as a person. Who is Mayor James Stewart? So I would like for you to tell me a little bit about your background growing up and when you first realized that you might run for public office.
Well, I grew up in Birmingham. I went to one of the best high schools that you can go to in America. And if you know anything about Birmingham, that's A.H. Parker High School.
Of course.
So I had an opportunity to be able to go to Parker High School. Then I graduated from Parker and I went to an HBCU, which is Tennessee State University, where I had an opportunity to be able to major in accounting. Once I graduated from there, I began my journey by working in the federal government. I worked at the U.S. Postal Service for approximately 12 years as an accountant. I heard the call of God to go into ministry, so I started to teach people how to be able to manage money from a biblical perspective. I served as the executive director for Crown Financial Ministries. That gave me a chance to be able to travel all over the state, helping people to become better money managers. Then I got this wild idea when I was selected to be one out of 50 individuals from across the United States to be able to attend a leadership conference at Harvard University. Our speaker for the first night was Cornel West, and he stated to us, do not let this be something that you put on your resume, but allow this to be a moment that you take this information and you go home and you try to make a difference in your community. So I decided that how could I make a difference in the city of Irondale? I ran for city council in 2004. I lost to Dr. Simpson Berry by 16 votes. He moved out of the area. I got an opportunity to be able to serve in 2007. I was on the council from 2007 to 2012. Then I decided that, hey, I want to run for mayor. So I ran for mayor 2012, actually lost by 21 votes. After I lost that race, I was really getting ready to get out of politics. I felt that the Lord was calling me to do something else. I even shared with him that if you do not want me to continue, give me a sign and I'll move on and do some other things. However, Mayor Alexander at that time called me. We met at Jack's, had breakfast, talking over a biscuit, and he basically said to me, you have the same love for the city that I do. Well, will you consider taking the city clerk's position? So I really did not want to take the position, so I went home and I talked to my wife and I told her what had transpired at Jack's. And she frankly said to me, well, do you have another job? I said, I do not have another job. Therefore, I took the position here at the city of Irondale and I served as a city clerk for approximately 7 years. And then I got that itch again I realized that once you run for office, you really never get it out of your blood. So I pondered, contemplated, but most of all, I prayed about it. And when I decided that I was going to run for office, I was trying to see what would be a clever statement for me to be able to share with people. I was in our downstairs office there, just kind of wrestling with the Lord about what to do and what should be my next step. He finally said to me, "You don't have to create a fancy statement to say why you decided to run for office. The only thing you have to do is say that you were called." So the only reason that I decided to get in the race and to be able to run for the city of Irondale to be the mayor is because I felt the call. I never thought about being the first African American. I never thought about that it would be historic if I had an opportunity to be able to do it. I just knew that I had a calling on my life to be able to serve people, to help people, and to develop a blueprint to be able to move this city forward for the 21st century.
Wonderful. Well, clearly your faith is very important to you and has played a central role in your life's path. Can you tell me about a certain political figure or role model that has kind of shaped your path?
Well, the faith part, when I was growing up as a kid, if you didn't go to Sunday school, then you couldn't go on a date. Sure. Because if you were too sick not to go to church or Sunday school, then you were too sick to go out that evening. But I would say that the individual that shaped my life the most, Emma, was my father. I didn't have to go far to look for a role model because I had a role model in the house with me. He was a man of few words, but he lived a life. He lived a life, I would say, I think about it a lot of times with me being in ministry and studying the word and exegeting the text and all of those different things, that my father actually was a better example and he lived it better than I lived it. So my father was the role model for me. I was blessed, but I was just blessed to be able to have great parents. And I would say that's where my role models were in the household with me, because they're the ones who gave me a wonderful foundation to be able to turn out to be the man that I am today.
That's wonderful. So what is it like to be a black mayor in a city that's not majority black?
That's a good question because I remember the first time when I was getting ready to run for office, and this was in 2012, and people said to me, "You must be crazy. What make you think, being an African American, that you would ever become the mayor of a city that's predominantly white?" I said, I just happen to be that crazy to believe that if the Lord calls you to do something, that He's going to deliver on His calling. But I also realized that sometimes a blessing delayed is not a blessing denied, because He gave me 8 years to be able to prepare myself to go through the experiences of learning how to be able to manage a city. I had an opportunity to go back to school and get my master's in public administration so that I could take theory with education. Mayor Tommy Joe Alexander was an excellent role model. He took me around with him. He allowed me to be able to do things that normally city clerks did not get an opportunity to be able to do. He ended up being one of my best friends when he and I got beyond the election. And we had an opportunity to develop a bond that race was never an issue. My whole life, I've always been in positions where I was the only African American that was there. When I worked at Crown, I was the only African American executive director. When I was at the post office, I had an opportunity to be able to work at the U.S. Postal Headquarters in Washington, D.C. I was the only African American that was there. So I've lived a life where I've always been the only person that was there. And then, you know, by the way, when I look in the mirror, I am African American, so I am a minority. I remember when I went to my first city clerk meeting, and at this time, 8 years ago, most of your, or 90% of your city clerks are females. So I went to a conference in Tuscaloosa, and I was the only African American male city clerk that was there. So the teacher asked me, did I feel uncomfortable by being in an environment? I said, well, I've looked in the mirror for 47 years. I look the same way. So I've always learned to be able to deal with whatever situation that I've been placed in. So no, I don't feel comfortable. I don't think that the Lord has designed everybody to be able to do what they do for a reason. And I just feel like I bring certain things to the table, or He's designed me to be a certain way, that I've been able to maneuver a lot through a lot of the racial things that have transpired. Like I said, I grew up in Birmingham. My parents lived probably about 6 blocks away from what was called Dynamite Hill, which you didn't know if you were going to wake up in the morning or your house was going to be blown up, caught on fire, or even crosses in the yard because of what was going on during that time. So I just truly believe that I've been prepared to be able to do it.
So how are you, as mayor, in your position now, how are you working to address these issues of equality and justice and move the needle in a positive direction?
I've been able to do it because I'm the individual that, for some reason, people feel comfortable talking to me. And I happen to be the person that a lot of times, if people from other ethnic groups want to know something, they feel comfortable asking me a bunch of the questions or stereotypes that they've seen portrayed in the public. So I've had that opportunity to be able to share with them, like, not all African Americans are Democrats. Not all African Americans prefer certain music, or we are a very diverse group of people, and that we're not a monolithic deal where you hear those perceptions, you can believe them, and then you can spread them across a broad range of our group to say that, well, everybody acts like that. So I think that I've been fortunate enough to be able to put in the position to be able to portray a different outlook for what an African American male looks like. And I'm trying every day to be able to break those stereotypes that have been played for over hundreds and hundreds of years of how we supposed to be able to paint a picture to let people know that at the end of the day, we're pretty cool people.
Absolutely. So let's close on a lighter note and just tell us something about yourself that the people you represent may not know about Mayor Stewart.
Well, one of the things I feel that people don't know about Mayor Stewart is that when I worked at the post office, I was friends with 3 guys that love NASCAR.
Okay.
I'd never been to Talladega. They asked me if I wanted to go to up there to one of the trials. So it was my first experience. When I walked onto the facility and I saw everybody with these headphones on, I was trying to figure out why everybody got on headphones, because we didn't take any headphones. And once I got inside the stadium and began to hear the cars go around the track, I realized why everybody had headphones. So I love NASCAR. Jeff Gordon was my favorite driver when I was really following NASCAR. Then I moved from Jeff Gordon to Jimmy Johnson. So I truly believe that there are very few people in Irondale know that their mayor, James Douglas Stewart Jr., actually enjoy NASCAR events.
Wonderful. Well, thank you so much for your time this evening and for taking an opportunity to talk with the citizens of Irondale about yourself and your background, and thank you for the service that you're giving to the city of Irondale.
Thank you.